Welcome to Everlasting Talk. Hello, welcome to Everlasting Talk. I'm your host, Ever. Thank you so much for joining us today here. Today we're doing a biography series on Adolf Hitler. And before we get started, make sure to go to my Instagram, X, Twitch, YouTube, Spotify, Kick, Blogger, and more. Thank you guys so much. And also get your gear on spring.com. Everything goes to me getting better equipment, things like that. Thank you so much. Let's get started. Adolf Hitler was one of the most ruthless and infamous people in history. His ideologies led to the deaths of millions as ruler of Germany. Born on April 20th, 1889, in Braunau in Austria, the fourth of six children to Alois and Clara, the three of the children died in infancy. The family moved throughout Austria. His father insisted he go to a good school. He intentionally did bad to go against his own father. Um, More news was when his father Alois died on January 3rd, 1903, changing his life and starting developing German nationalist ideas. By 1907, we'll move to Vienna and apply to the Academy of Fine Arts in Vienna. He got rejected twice. Famously, this is like what there's always like people saying like this is what made him snap. So yeah, he got rejected twice from that. And by December 21st, 1907, unfortunately, his mother would die of breast cancer. Hitler being 18 at the time. During these years in Vienna is when he developed his racist rhetoric, reading books from Charles Chamberlain, Darwin, Le Bon, and more. Debate on his actual beginnings of becoming anti-Semitic depends on who looked it up or research. Many people say that he was as a kid he was anti-Semitic, but his mom was Jewish, I think on the grandparents' side, so he was Jewish himself. Uh, you know, um, you know, so it's probably when he was around in his adulthood when he developed more of this ideology of anti-Semitism and you know one nation. But by 1913, he ended up moving to Germany, and when World War One started, he enlisted in the Bavarian army. This was controversial too because he was Austrian. If they found out he was Austrian, they would have kicked him out of the army because because he's not German himself. So, but nobody knew, so he would eventually fight at various battles, like the Battle of the Somme, which is one of the most deadliest battles in World War One. Even going temporarily blind at the end of the war and during the war through mustard gas. He got mustard gas inside twice, so that's he went blind. Who knows what happened? History might have changed. That's why I tell people like history. You never know. One little incident could lead to a moment in history. So, what if he stayed blind? We don't know. What I'm about to tell you, the rest of it might have never happened. Eventually, with the war ending and Germany getting the brunt of the blame for World War One, um, brought fuel to the fire on Hitler's hate for the Jewish people and others, as well as German nationalism, socialism, and everybody started changing the rhetoric, being more just a German nation. He would eventually meet Dietrich Eckart and become his mentor. The German Workers' Party, in which Hitler joined, became the National Socialist German Workers' Party, also known as the Nazi Party, down the road. Like they changed the name. By 1921, he became chairman of the party. He won a majority vote in a landslide. I think only one person voted against him. Um, Eventually, with his powerful speeches and propaganda skills, he would attract he would grow and attract many disenchanted Germans due to the end of World War One. Like I said, the Germans took the brunt of that. Even though they didn't start the war, it started with Serbia and Austria-Hungary. Germany got the brunt of that. But the more he spoke about everything going on with the Treaty of Versailles, the more people went on his side. The only I forgot to mention the only reason why he became chairman of the party is because the party knew he had communication skills. That's one thing about him. Yeah, although his ideologies were racist and wrong, he was very charismatic and very very powerful. So that's the only reason why he became chairman of the party. Otherwise, who knows? History might have been different. I should do an episode about that, like down the road, like what would happen if, what if. But by 1933, with all the support behind him, he was appointed Chancellor of Germany and quickly established himself a totalitarian regime. He and his party would create policies of anti-Semitism and racism towards Jewish people, Romanis, and others. This led to the creation of concentration camps, down the road, as Auschwitz and many others. For him, it was more he wanted a pure German state, blonde hair, blue eyes, but he wasn't himself. So I don't know. His ideologies were twisted. We don't really know. What? I think just losing his parents and everything like that, and going through World War I, and his hate and his anger towards people, he blamed for the issues of the country. Led to this, unfortunately. And well, that didn't happen until the war, but like during that time, they established laws where you know, you have to identify yourself of your nationality and your religion. Like they had to, the people that were Jewish had to put a Star of David on their arm, and then on businesses as well. So people started. They used that anger towards people against. They used the anger of the German people for their cause. So they use emotions to they evoke emotions to get ahead and win the party. So it's manipulation, to be honest. They manipulated the people in propaganda. They made everybody they blame the Germans blame the people that were Jewish and all them for the issues of the country, why the country lost the war, why they're being sanctioned so much by the allies and all that. Eventually, his expansionist policies would get Germany to invade Poland in 1939 and led to World War II. Uh, you know, Eventually expanded. Germany expanded throughout Eastern Europe, also in France, North Africa, because he wanted this ideology of one German people and such. So that led to millions of people dying in the concentration camps as well on the battlefields. Innocent people, young men, young women. Um, you know, it was just a horrible war. But at the time, the you know during the time, the Germans will run up people, killing many and others, working to death in committing many atrocities. By 1945, the Allied forces will close in on Germany little by little on the left and the side. The Russians on the east, the Americans and the British on the west, and Germany started to crumble. Facing defeat, Hitler and his wife and a few others ended up taking their own lives. Sorry if I said that word. I know people I just a certain word, but I don't want to say it. They took their own lives, not wanting to face the repercussions of their actions. On April 30th, 1945, in Berlin, there's many people think that he's still alive, that he lived through the war, but all research I did, all research I did showed that it was him. You know, so there's no conspiracy theories or anything like that happened to him. Eventually, the war in Europe would quickly end after that because there's no reason to fight anymore. The German people were tired, the soldiers were tired, everyone was just tired of the war. Um, Eventually, the legacy of Hitler is one of infamy and tragedy. The Holocaust and World War II remains powerful reminders of the horrors that can result from unchecked nationalism, hatred, and authoritarianism. Hitler's actions and atrocities committed under his regime left a deep scar in history, emphasizing the need for vigilance and reservation of human rights. Unfortunately, you know, it's not the last time mass murder, mass genocides took place, unfortunately. But it's crucial to study this history and ensure that events like this are never repeated. Understanding the conditions and ideologies that allow Hitler to rise to power can help prevent the resurgence of similar movements in the future. Unfortunately, people do have still have this ideology that Germany once again should be this powerful nation, and they believe that this man is still, for them it's like their god. But it's very, very dangerous, that kind of mentality. In conclusion, Adolf Hitler's life and actions have a profound impact on the 20th century overall, changed history. We still talk about it today. He rose from a struggling artist to a dictator, responsible for the most darkest chapters in human history. Remembering his life and consequences of his actions serve as a stark reminder of the importance of tolerance, democracy, and the defense of human rights in the face of fascism and hatred. Um, before I go, make sure to check out these movies. I mean, you probably watch some of these. It's probably this guy's been talking about so much throughout history. But if you want to really watch some good movies that I like, Downfall 2004, Valkyrie it has Tom Cruise in it from 2008. Conspiracy 2001. There's other ones as well. Like there's satirical ones like Jojo Rabbit, Inglorious Bastards. That's like that's Quentin Tarantino, but obviously that has different outcomes. Book you could look into is The Life and Death of Adolf Hitler from 2002. I'm sorry I didn't mention. I forgot the author, but obviously he wrote his own books too. You could look at his stuff if you want. You could understand his ideology and why he became into what who he was. But yeah, thank you guys so much for joining me today here on Everlasting Talk. I know this person was one of the most controversial. I was kind of afraid to talk about him because obviously I always believe that if history repeats itself if you don't learn from your mistakes. History. If you don't know your history, you're doomed to repeat it. So I always feel like it's important to know this kind of history because there's people like this that have this ideology, and then they allow they just convince people that the ideology is correct, and then it results in many people dying. But yeah, thank you guys so much for joining me today. Hopefully you guys like this episode. On my next episode, I'm gonna talk about Maximilian the First of Mexico. He's also Austrian himself. But yeah, thank you guys so much. Make sure to go to my Instagram, X, Twitch, YouTube. Everything else. If you go to Linktree, if you go to my Linktree, everything's on there, and Spring.com as well. Thank you guys so much, and I'll see you at the next one. Bye. Thank you for listening to this episode of Everlasting Talk. For more content, follow us on Twitch, Twitter, YouTube, and Instagram at Everlasting Talk. Thank you.